Greetings and salutations. My name is OJ as always, and welcome back to another episode of the Marvel Rivals-a-thon, a series of videos where I go over every single character in, well, Marvel Rivals. I'll be covering their lore and personality, their gameplay and abilities, as well as their design and cosmetics. With that all done and dusted, our object of obsession for today is the merc with a mouth himself, Deadpool. Now, before I start talking about Deadpool's personality, story, history, lore, etc., whatever you wish to call it, I would like to preface that I am not a Marvel comics reader, so I may miss things or miss references to different comics because, well, I have never read them. However, when it comes to Deadpool, I am also going to struggle because a lot of what is listed on the Rivals wiki about his personality and all of this lovely stuff doesn't really seem to apply to his in-game iteration. Deadpool in-game is about what most people would probably expect from him. Very loud, very boisterous, very fourth wall breaky, constantly just making all sorts of noise, whether any of it even makes sense. Who gives a shit? He just speaks words, they just come out of his mouth constantly. The Rivals wiki, though, has it listed that a lot of this kind of chaotic nature and this constant talking, jokes, taunts, belittling is kind of like a sort of a face for him. Somewhat like it's kind of like a thing to kind of keep himself grounded in a sense. Because he is obviously aware that he is a comic book character. He also has a lot of sort of, what would you call it, kind of sadness in him. Like he's very emotionally unstable, and I don't like that it's written like this. It does make me kind of giggle. It makes me think of them Bart Simpson memes, but he is broken beneath the humor. And because, like, obviously he's deformed because of the, like, the cancer that he has. And he's also obviously immortal. And because of that, he is kind of just constantly in a state of his own mind where he's obviously talking to himself and just kind of, he just talks to kind of alleviate that pain. However, that isn't really communicated very well in Rivals' portrayal of him. All of his interactions in-game are just him joking around. And it's nice and dandy to say that beneath all of those jokes he is struggling and is in pain, but like we don't even get like a single glimpse into that. Like the most we get glimpse-wise into his emotions, beyond, you know, jokey, haha funny, he said hawk to her, he said 6'7", is like the interaction with Rogue, where he obviously says that he's not particularly over their relationship, which, by the way, I didn't even know those two had been together in the comics. That was like brand new information to me. I knew he'd been with Death before, like that was just kind of a thing that I knew, but I didn't know he had been with Rogue. I had no clue, but that's like the only kind of glimpse into his sadness that we really get to see. And I guess you could kind of say one of his interactions with Galacta, where she says that, or she just says, like, "You're not okay, are you?" He doesn't reply to that, but, like, it's weird, because obviously a lot of what is listed on the Rivals wiki about his personality is obviously going into the fact that when he's obviously spouting out curse words, pop culture references, memes, insults, etc., it's all kind of like a front for the sadness inside of him, but we don't get to see that. Like, it's nice and dandy to say that, but we don't really get to see it. But it doesn't really matter. Hey ho, that's just a bit of my observations. I did actually see a few other people kind of complain that a lot of Deadpool's kind of finer intricacies aren't particularly tackled in Rivals, which I'm gonna be honest, if you're looking for like super comic accurate depictions of characters through Rivals, I don't know what to say to you besides I don't really think that's going to happen. Honestly, I don't think that's gonna happen. This game's rated, I think it's rated teen, and it is a live service hero shooter. If we're looking for accurate depictions of characters outside of their kind of basic traits, I wouldn't count on it personally, which is a fault you can criticize the game for, but I just wouldn't expect, you know, like I saw the complaint was that obviously Deadpool as a mercenary anti-hero has done a lot of like bad things, no shit, but like even in Rivals' own story, we know that he did a job for the Collector where he just went around and kidnapped people. Like he just straight up kidnapped people. We know that he kidnapped the Rivals versions of Psylocke from her, like, Japanese dimension, so he could bring her to the Collector. Like, that's a real, you know, living person that he just kidnapped, and that's kind of just played off for a joke. He's not really, like, Sai attempts to hold him accountable for his actions, but he just kind of, like, brushes it off and dicks about as per usual. It's like, yeah, I understand the criticism as well. Like, a lot of the bad things that he's done. I saw, like, a thing, the person complaining is like, oh, he's a murderer, he's a human trafficker. It's like, yeah, he did do those things, but we're talking about Deadpool here, and we're talking about a game that generally is a bit more lighthearted in its tackling of most of these characters. Like, even someone like Ultron, who is, you know, really, really bad and has done a lot of really, really bad things, doesn't really ever feel like he gets held accountable for them, at least not in his interactions. Most of his interactions are just like, let's laugh at the funny robot man, guys. Like, did we forget that he literally infected multiple members of the cast during Season 2? Did we forget that he basically took over all of Krakoa during Season 2? We're going to hold him accountable for that? And I was like, yeah, I understand people's criticisms. But anyways, I'm going off topic. Deadpool himself is very funny for a certain period of time. I can only handle so much Deadpool, personally. But, this version of Deadpool, I'm going to be so honest with you, I find him absolutely hilarious. I don't know what it is. Why? Oh, no, I do know what it is. But he just is consistently really funny to me in this game. I mean, some of his voice lines are going to get old quickly. I think most of his voice lines with Galacta are kind of getting old already. I do hope that in the future they maybe change those lines so it's just Deadpool that hears them. Because, like, the entire team just hearing, you're about to find out, just constantly over and over and over every game. Yeah, no, that will get really tiring. But the reason why I think I'm able to handle this Deadpool a lot more than most other versions of him, such as like Ryan Reynolds' version, is because of his voice actor. That being Alejandro Saab. He is in anything and everything you could ever imagine. Like, if you can think of something that has like an English and a Japanese dub, or an English and Chinese dub, or like just a thing that primarily has voice actors for dubbing stuff, he is there. He is always there. There is not a time where he is not there. He is in Demon Slayer, he is in Hell's Paradise, he is in Blue Lock, he is in Zenless Zone Zero as Anton, he is Sino in Genshin Impact, he is Jing Yuang in Honkai Star Rail, he is Shallot in Dragon Ball Legends, he is in he's Akihiko in Persona 3 Reload. He is in everything. He is also a YouTuber and a VTuber under the name of Sayu? It's CYYU. I love his voice acting. He is awesome. My first exposure to him, funny enough, was actually Shallot in Dragon Ball Legends. I know, a bit sad, but he's genuinely been in anything and everything you could imagine. And his voice work as Deadpool is pinpoint perfect. I cannot stress enough how good he is as Deadpool. Like, this might be like a personal experience for me. Do you ever have a thing where like a voice actor plays a character and now all previous versions of that character and all previous voices for that character just like go extinct and this becomes the definitive one? That is what has happened with me. Like, Alejandro Saab has played Deadpool and now every previous version of Deadpool has just like vanished from my mind. Nolan North, he did a good job, but I don't know, guys. Alejandro Saab is absolutely killing it. He got me to laugh at a Hawk Tour joke in 2026. 2026? Is it? Actually, I don't remember when that joke was around. Was that like 2024 or was that last year? I don't actually remember. Either way, he got me to laugh at a Hawk Tour joke. That is just... He is just that good. He's just that good. He's just awesome. Genuinely, Alejandro Saab needs like as much praise as possible because he has made this version of Deadpool actually tolerable, even despite some of the absurd shit he is saying. And to reference, of course, his rival version, he does have a lore tab which is written in a kind of first-person perspective, like he's talking to you, the viewer, and he goes on like a little adventure with Jeff the Land Shark, and he obviously does all of his work for the Collector and kidnaps people, and eventually Jeff gets hurt and he has to give Jeff back to the Collector, but Jeff will lose all the memories of the time they spent together. It's kind of, it's kind of sad, but he also is like, it's Deadpool. What do I need to even say? How do I even talk about this character? Like, genuinely, like, you guys, I'm sure some of you, most of you, if you're watching this video, you know what Deadpool's whole thing is. You know what his whole shtick is. And in this game, he is, actually really funny for the most part. I just think some of his voice lines are probably going to get very old. The Galacta ones and the one where he goes, "Does a Lord Icon do bonus damage?" Like, that one is going to be the death of me. I have heard it like 800 times, and it's worse if there's two Deadpools, which right now there is a lot of two Deadpools. So you're just hearing, "Does a Lord Icon do bonus damage?" over and over, and it's infuriating. But either way, Deadpool is incredibly funny in this game, at least in my opinion. He appeals to my brand of humor. Alejandro Saab does an incredible job of voicing him, and there is some criticism to be held at the fact that they don't really address Deadpool's more serious side, in a sense, like a lot of the self-loathing and emotional stuff that he usually goes through. But with all of that said, and with my high praise for this version of Deadpool, high sung and done, we're going to move on to the longest part of any video I probably will ever make. That being Deadpool's extensive, unbelievably long gameplay and abilities. Right, so here we are in the ever so helpful and ever so lovely training range to talk about Deadpool's gameplay. Now, as I'm sure all of you know at this point, this loser has all 3 roles under his belt. So you may be wondering, how are we going to organize this? Which role do we analyze first? I'm going to start with DPS, because I think, personally, going off of the way his other 2 roles are played and designed, they probably initially envisioned him as a DPS, and then created the other roles around this initial one. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with his DPS role. Now, it is worth noting that your descriptions in-game on this menu may look a little bit different. The reason for that is because there is a setting specifically for Deadpool listed as, I can't remember where the hell it is, it's somewhere, there it is, Deadpool style ability descriptions, which if you have it turned on, which by the way it's turned on by default, and then you look at the abilities, you have stuff that says, for example, his Desert Eagles is listed as bang bang, unleash 2 hand cannons left and right, because 1 gun is never enough. Pew pew, baby. For the sake of this video and my sanity, I will be turning these off so I can actually read exactly what these abilities do. Speaking of though, we have to address his 2 passives. First things first, we have Healing Factor, where you will continuously heal outside of combat, and when you take heavy damage, you briefly become invincible and rapidly heal yourself. This is very useful, very useful. As you know, this game does not have passive healing out of combat for every character, unlike, say, Overwatch or Paladins, so you do have to, seek out health packs or get healed. Deadpool does not play by that rule. He can heal outside of combat, which makes him very efficient at staying in fights for long amounts of time, and, of course, the brief bit of invincibility when taking heavy damage and heal is also very good for his survivability. So he has, very solid self-sustain off of that passive alone. And he also has another passive called Maximum Flare, which is his style meter. As you do actions, such as, shooting your enemies and killing them and using abilities and dealing damage, you'll notice that you slowly but surely rank yourself up higher and higher as you do, I jump on people, look, now I'm at C rank. What's a good example as well? Like, I use my ability to do this, throw this, now I'm a B rank. I'll take a pick. That didn't actually increase my style meter. A rank, then eventually, with enough killing and stabbing and shooting and blah, 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 you will eventually reach S rank. Now, when at S rank, you gain access to your ultimate. That's how that works. You, increase style rating by landing abilities, and then your ultimate ability can be unleashed after reaching your S rank. This results in Deadpool basically having his ultimates, plural, available to him immediately. So he will probably be the first person to ult in every single game. He, unfortunately, after using his ult, well, I say unfortunately, after using his ult, your ultimate will go on a 40-second cooldown. I'll have to check on that once we actually get to talking about the ultimates. But either way, you get the point. He also has a third passive, kinda, sorta. It's listed under the abilities section, but it is basically a passive, and that's Upgrade, where by dealing damage, hitting the picks that you just saw me do, you accumulate XP. When maxed, you are able to upgrade any of your abilities outside of the bunny hop. The bunny hop is the only thing that you can't upgrade, and you also can't upgrade the passives. When you're taking those pictures, by the way, such as, like, say, for example, I just killed Luna Snow, when you hit these picks, you are completely invincible. You cannot be hurt by anything at all. So, you can, as per we saw in his trailer, conveniently time a kill and a pick to completely, say, block a Magneto ult. Or, I don't know, who else has, like, big boy one-shot ults? You could block a Phoenix ult with it. Or you could be invincible for the duration of a Psylocke ult, kinda. But you get the point. The taking a picture thing is very useful, but you do have to remember that when you are taking the picture, you're not able to do anything. So if you're playing, say, Heal Pool, or Healer Deadpool, going to take one of those picks makes it so you can't heal your team for a good, like, 4 or 5 seconds, which, sometimes actually can get your team killed. But to show, of course, what the upgrade menu looks like, you press F, and you get this lovely little comic book. You can move around and, jump and stuff when you're obviously here, but your camera is stationary. And from here, you can obviously pick any of your abilities to upgrade them, or your weapons as well. But of course, I'll discuss the upgraded versions of each of these abilities as and when we get to them. But that's just worth noting as well. You can cancel it again, by the way. If you pull out the thing and everyone starts dying, you can press F and just chuck the comic book away. It's worth noting that. First things first, let's talk about his 2 primary weapons, that being the dual Desert Eagles, which are relatively simple. They are pseudo hit scan, kinda. There is actually like they are pseudo hit scan. Some of you may recognize that term from my Deadpool videos. They are technically projectiles, but they move so fast they might as well be hit scan. That doesn't really do much for him, but either way, they do decent damage. They can headshot as well, which is nice to note. And the headshot damage is, surprisingly good, like 4 shots. You also have a 30 bullet magazine, which is very high. And you do have a very fast reload as well, which is also surprising considering how much ammo is in there. But you also do have a second primary weapon, that being your kick-ass katanas, which you can access by pressing Shift, or whatever button you have applied to it. Shift lets you swap between your 2 weapons, by the way, which obviously grants you access to different abilities and such, and different ultimates. Either way, these katanas are relatively simple. They are a melee weapon that have relatively decent range. Like, you still have to be in melee range, but, like, this is a little bit better than, say, like, Iron Fist or Daredevil. They do pretty good damage. They can, they're just decent. They do decent enough damage. They are mostly, in my experience, used for obviously accessing some of his different abilities, but they do get better with their upgrades. Speaking of, the upgrades for the 2 primary weapons would be, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. When you upgrade your dual Desert Eagles, you are able to, with enough shots, unleash a powerful explosive boom emoji for extra damage, which looks as such. Which, by the way, after upgrading, your guns become golden to show that they are upgraded. And as you shoot, you'll notice that there's a little emoji next to the side of my head. And once I shoot enough shots, which is 5, it will fly forward and shoot out a little fart explosion looking thing. This is just kind of useful for, it's just extra DPS. Your guns themselves don't really change, but now you have access to AoE damage, because this can, hit multiple enemies at once. Like, if I just time this properly and just say shoot at the floor once this AI bot respawns, yeah, you get access to a bit of bonus damage. It is worth noting, though, that due to where the actual emoji is placed, you can actually result in missing it. Like, say, for example, I'm here and I shoot at Luna Snow. My bullet hits, but the actual emoji comes out from my left-hand side, making it hit the wall. That's worth noting. And when it comes to your katanas, which, by the way, also become golden upon upgrading, you now have access to criticals. You can hit critical hits. The critical hits in question are on the second attack, I believe. I think. I'm unsure what it means by stabs. Like hold on. Stabs can deal critical hits. After a bunny hop, your next attack is guaranteed to be a stab. So if you do the double jump, your next attack... What? See, usually when they say critical, you hear, you know, like the headshot effect. But it's hard to tell, actually, if they are crits. Like, after I double jump, the first attack is the double slash. But there isn't, like, an actual visual indicator that I am, quote-unquote, critting, which is a bit confusing. But, yeah, apparently they do... I mean, you could probably see the increase in damage on the stabs after the double jump. It's... Yeah, the upgrade for the katanas is okay. In my experience, for most forms... okay. For DPS Deadpool, DPS Pool, as I'll call them, the katanas are much more useful than the other two forms, at least in my experience, right? Because, you know, it's been 3 days since he came out. I'm still trying to get the full idea of how this character exactly works, but you know, there's 3 different versions to cover, man. It's difficult. The katanas are useful in the DPS form, mostly due to, of course, the right click, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Right click? Yeah, right click. But yeah, his 2 primary weapons are good. His pistols, in my experience, are a bit stronger than the katanas, but the katanas get you access to his strongest ability in DPS form. So yeah, it's kind of like 50-50 on what's actually better than what. It's weird. Either way, when in your gun form, your right click is known as headshot, where you remove your avatar, as in the little thing in the bottom left-hand corner, and throw it, damaging enemies along the path and nearby. After a short amount of time, it will return to you. So if I press right click, I throw out my avatar, it spins as this big swirly whirly projectile, and then it will return to me. Pretty simple, bit of extra damage, nothing like crazy to write home about. However, when upgraded, it becomes an actual force of nature. At least in my experience, of course. Now, the avatar will be thrown, damage enemies along the path and nearby, and after a short amount of time, it returns to you. However, you are then able to catch it and throw it 2 more times. On your third toss, it will explode at the end to deal area damage. Now, to show what that looks like, you throw it once, then it will come back to you, you throw it twice, and then you throw it a 3rd time, and then it will explode. I know it says catch, as if you actually have to input something to, you know, throw it again, but you don't. It will just come back to you, and then you'll just throw it again. And you can see it from the bar on your screen that goes down, and then on the 3rd throw, it will explode. And, you know, that is really good damage. Mind you, on top of, and during this entire time, by the way, whilst you're throwing, you know, the actual projectile, you can still attack normally. Like, I can still shoot at the target I'm looking at. And it's also worth noting that it will stop after a certain distance thrown, which results in kind of an interesting thing where you kind of have to, like, angle it to where you want it to go. Like, if there's enemies jumping you, say they're, like, right in front of your face, you can just, like, throw it at the floor, and you occasionally will, you know, adjust your position to actually keep it going at the floor whilst they're jumping on top of you. But yeah, it's a very good ability, like it does very good damage, as you just saw, and it's just disruptive. It's just annoying. Like, if you're fighting at a long range, you can just chuck it and it will just be there doing damage, and it's kind of hard to avoid, and the damage it does is good, so it's even more annoying. Now, on the katana side, your right click is known as... I actually need to swap to the page. The hazardous hijinks, where you dash forward and slash, striking enemies in your path, and if you hit an enemy, it allows you to unleash another instance of the ability up to 2 times. To show what that looks like, you dash forward, you slash, then you get an extra charge of it, which lasts 5 seconds, dash again, lasts another 5 seconds, dash a 3rd time. Now, you can, of course, use this in the midst of, like, you know, slashing. You can just, you know, slash, dash, slash, dash, slash, dash, slash, dash. It gives you very solid movement. It is on a relatively short cooldown, and it's just generally quite disruptive. And this is probably the best part about the katanas, because you can just, like, keep slashing, keep moving. Like, say you're fighting someone, you slash at them, and then you just jump away. He has very good movement on top of, obviously, the double jump, or with the slash dash into double jump. So he is a bit of a hard target to pin down. But the real quality of this ability as well is when you get to upgrade it. Now, the upgraded version makes it so that whenever you slash someone, you will kind of bounce off of them. Like, like just a show, of course. You slash and you bounce upwards off of them, and you can keep bouncing for as long as you want. Like, as long as you keep hitting this, you will just keep bouncing. And this is the worst thing ever. I despise this ability with all of my pure heart. This, as a support, right? Playing a support, having Deadpool just bounce on you, like, he is infuriating. Like, I haven't touched the floor once. Obviously, it stops once you miss it, but, like, if the Deadpool never misses it, what do you do? Like, he just keeps bouncing and bouncing and bouncing on your head. It is actually infuriating. Like, he is one of the most overwhelming DPSs to go against as a support, because you will just round a corner, see this glowing red man with his golden katanas, and he will just start bouncing on you like, dig, hop. Like, what? This is infuriating. But it's very strong. It's very fun to do as well. It's very fun to just keep bouncing and bouncing on someone's head. Like, you can also use the double jump mid-thing to obviously get the crits. See, that time it showed the crit effect. Why did... See, look, that time it showed the crit effect. Why did... Huh? Oh, yeah, you can also kill with the double jump, by the way, because it does, like... Yeah, wait, hold on. Why does it only show the crit effect if I'm above them? That's weird. Probably a bug. But yeah, the dash is very, very strong. And of course, even amongst your, bouncing on people, you can, if it gets a bit too hairy, double jump off them, dash away, and double jump again. Like, you can just get out of there almost scot-free. It's absurd. But continuing with his abilities, you obviously have the double jump, which I've mentioned many a times now. If you use it on someone's head, which I also mentioned many a times now, as well as nearby vertical walls, you can refresh the cooldown. And also, bouncing on someone's head gives you a small bit of bonus health. It's only 25, but it's nothing, it's still good enough. Gives you more survivability. And to show what it looks like against vertical walls, you can just... you can only do it, you can only bounce off of it twice, but it's still a bit of vertical movement, which is quite solid. And unfortunately, you can't, upgrade it, which is a bit sad, but hey-ho, I'm sure he would have been even more insufferable if you could upgrade it. Now, the final ability I need to talk about is the Deadpool in your area, where you will taunt, which I'm unsure what taunt does. I believe it's that weird thing that disrupts the enemies. Like, what does taunt do? I'm unsure. I am unsure. I don't know. Either way, it creates a circle around you that deals continuous damage to nearby enemies, and it disrupts their vision whilst gaining damage reduction for yourself. Now, it's kind of hard to show what the disruptive vision looks like, but to explain it, you will have a lot of Deadpool on your screen. There will be Deadpool stickers all over it. There'll be a big bit of Deadpool tape across the bottom. Your vision will mostly just be cluttered with a bunch of Deadpool memorabilia, I guess. But to show, of course, what the ability looks like on, well, Deadpool's end, you press E and create a field around you that does, damage over time. And you gain, damage reduction during this same time. This is just more damage to total on top of his already pre-existing very solid damage. Like, for DPS pool specifically, this is very useful in the fact that obviously you get the damage reduction. It makes you harder to see as well. And you can activate it and just bounce on people's heads. So you're dealing, really good damage with your bounces. You're dealing the damage over time with the field. You're making it harder for you to be seen, and you're already, really hard to hit anyways, because you're just bouncing on top of people's heads. Like, how your vision's disrupted. You've got this red dude bouncing on your head like a crazed maniac. Like, he is just very disruptive. In DPS form, he is just annoying, disruptive, and just there all the time. And on upgrade, which I shall do right now, I actually don't remember. What does it get when it upgrades? Now you taunt, deal continuous damage to nearby enemies, disrupting their vision whilst gaining damage reduction. And if enemies do not escape your field in time, the bottom of their screen gets further blocked. So that's that big, massive red bit of tape that kind of blocks most of their cooldowns and such. So yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, the tape actually blocks a lot of the icons in the bottom right hand, so they actually can't see what's on cooldown and what's not, which is obviously just more ways to be disruptive, more ways to be annoying and more ways to be a pain in the ass, really, which is really fitting for this character. Now we move on to his 2 ultimates, because yes, he has 2 of them. The first of which, in his gun form, is where you select an enemy to taunt them and they take damage whenever they miss an ability during the effect. That looks as such, by the way. If I pull out my guns, I can judge an enemy, and now if this Lunar Snow were to shoot anything and miss me, she would take a decent or a small bit of damage as kind of, what would you call it? Like as payback, I guess. And this ultimate can actually be upgraded, and it makes it so that they now take continuous damage when taunted, and if they miss an ability during the effect, they suffer extra damage and have vulnerability applied to them, making them an even easier target. Now, this ultimate can be very, very useful because you can, say for a good example I've had in one of my games, is where I taunted a Moon Knight the second he used his ult, and our team moved out of his ult. And because his ult is up and he's technically missing hits with it, he just took a bunch of damage and died. And he didn't even do anything. Like, he literally, no one shot him, no one attacked him, I just taunted him, he used his ult, and everyone moved out of it, and he just died from the extra damage that he took from missing all of those hits. So what you want to do with this ability is kind of just disrupt a specific target, or single out someone for your team to kind of just dive on. Like, say there's a healer that none of you guys like, they're being really annoying, just mark them, and just everyone jump them. Because if they miss anything, they'll be taking extra damage on top of the damage you'll be doing to them. And if the ultimate is upgraded, they're vulnerable. So they're actually just going to be taking extra damage full stop from you lot if they miss anything. Like, it's just a good tool to single out a specific target and remove them from the game. It's that simple. It's very useful on characters who generally will miss things. Like, it's very good on, like, Punisher, for example, because if he misses, like, even just one bullet from his assault rifle, then now he's taken extra damage and is now vulnerable. Characters that it's not good to use on are mostly melee DPSs. So, say, for example, someone like Magic or Iron Fist or Daredevil, or even melee-based tanks like, say, I don't know, The Thing. It's not a good ult to use on them because they are, you know, all they have to do is be close and hit you. Like, it's not like they actually have to aim their attacks. Iron Fist especially might be the worst character to use your ult on because he literally has lock-on punches. It's hard for Iron Fist to miss his attacks. And you can also use it on supports, but don't use it on Cloak and Dagger for obvious reasons. They have auto lock-on primary weapons and AoE abilities that deal damage. Like, it's not hard for them to miss their shots. Funny enough, I do actually think if Gambit misses one of the 3 cards that he throws out in his primary fire, that counts as a missed shot. So it's actually quite a decent counter to Gambit, all things considered. But yeah, it's a pretty good ult, pretty solid. And his other one is known. Oh, I'm gonna have to. No, I'm not leveling myself up again. I'm not trying to get that S rank. His other ultimate, which is accessed when using the sword, is known as Pop Quiz, where you initiate a challenge for yourself whilst gaining a minor speed boost and healing over time. If you hit enough enemies with the indicated abilities in the same time, you get greatly enhanced speed and healing. And when upgraded, this makes it so that you get a damage boost during the pop quiz, and if you manage to complete the time-gated challenge, you get increased speed, healing, damage, and you refresh all of your cooldowns except for the healing factor passive. And I'm going to show what that looks like with the upgrade. You press the pop quiz, you shout, and now in the corner you can see that if you use double jump on enemies, your jump slash, or your spinny wheel of doom, you will continuously level yourself up. You'll get the notification that you leveled yourself up. There'll be a time limit till it stops, and well, you just get to be an absolute menace and do a lot of damage, a lot of everything. Like, during his pop quiz ult, if he manages to upgrade it, Deadpool is basically unkillable and one of the hardest hitting DPSs in the entire game. It is that simple. Like, you just do too much. You do too much damage. You just do too much. When he's in his ult, he just becomes an absolute, like, devastating force of nature that can barely be stopped. Like, the amount, like, you can two-shot people during your ult with your pistols. What? Why is he allowed to do that? And it's especially strong on DPS pool because the requirements to level up the pop quiz vary from Deadpool version to Deadpool version, but the DPS one gets the best of all worlds because he has to land his double jump, his jump slash, or his spinny wheel of doom, which is unbelievably easy, mind you. Like, he has 3 different ways to level up the ult, and they're all just stupidly easy abilities to hit, right? Like, I know the tank one, you have to hit either the double jump or the slash jumps, but if you use the wheel, you don't get any progress to the pop quiz. And he only has to hit 5 of them, by the way. This character, you know, whose whole thing so far I've emphasized is just bouncing on people's heads, is encouraged to bounce on people's heads to get increased damage and invulnerability and increased movement speed, and, like, oh my god, he's unbelievably frustrating. But that is DPS Pool's entire base kit, and I'm taking a drink mid-video because this is going to be even longer. We're going to keep going. That is DPS Pool's kit. I think this is the second strongest version of Deadpool. He is very disruptive, very annoying, very chaotic. He's just unbelievably overwhelming. Like, as someone with autism, right? This is a very overstimulating experience to go against a DPS Deadpool. Like, I am, like, panicking. He is literally bouncing on my head, and I am panicking. He is the second strongest version, I think, in my opinion. And let's move on to the, in my opinion, weakest version of Deadpool. That being Tank Pool. Now, Tank Pool, for the most part, is basically the same. His main weapons and katanas are the exact same, and their upgrades are basically the exact same, which I'll just upgrade those for the sake of it. Now, the differences lie... other things that are the same, actually, are his dash, like his dash slice thing. That stays the same in base. When upgraded, though, I believe it is slightly different. Yeah, the difference between the two... So the difference between DPS Pool and Tank Pool is that obviously DPS Pool, he can just bounce on you infinitely once that ability is upgraded, whereas Tank Pool and Heal Pool can only do it 3 times. They still get the bounce in the air, but they can only do it 3 times. Now, where the differences begin to play is instead of being able to throw out his icon as a weapon, Tank Pool instead has the magical unicorn shield, where you throw a plush forward and upon landing it generates a spherical shield that blocks enemies' attacks, and I feel like I should put little asterisks here, from outside and inside. For any of you who have played Overwatch, this is a Winston bubble. That's as simple as it gets. Nothing goes in from enemies and nothing goes out from enemies. So you can, theoretically, use this on top of an enemy to block them from healing their teammates. Say, for example, Luna Snow. She wouldn't be able to shoot out of the bubble, so she can't shoot her teammates. You can use it, of course, on yourself to block any of the damage coming in. And you can also use it to block ults. As seen in the trailer, he throws it up at a Iron Man who is in the middle of his ult cast, and the ult doesn't do anything because it just gets, like, squished inside of the unicorn bubble. It is worth noting, though, that the unicorn bubble only has 300 health, which is, like, nothing. This is, like, no health at all. This thing will get shredded immediately. So what you really should be using it for is just generally to, like, make space, I guess. Like, you kind of, like, throw it ahead of you and kind of walk into it, because then you get, like, a little bit of blockage on your way towards them. Or, as I said, you can, like, throw it on top of an enemy to prevent them from, like, attacking you as you fight, or prevent them from receiving heals from their team. The only thing is it does just pop really, really quickly, so you have to be quick about killing the person inside of the bubble. And when upgraded, I'm pretty sure all it gets is, like, extra health, I think. It generates a large spherical shield. Yeah, the size is a bit bigger, and it has 400 health now, which, you know, all of the same benefits apply to it, but now on a larger scale, and it won't break as easily. It's whatever. It's a fine ability. In my experience, it hasn't really done much for me. Like, it just kind of breaks. Usually I throw it out, it pops out, and it just breaks, like, almost immediately, which is a bit disappointing. But that's why I kind of think that Tank Pool is the worst version of the character, Like, he has 500 health, right? I should have mentioned that. Like, base Deadpool, DPS pool has 250, tank pool has 500. Like, I should, like, he loses out on one of the stronger abilities of the 2 heal pool and DPS pool, which is the icon throw, for a bubble that, like, doesn't really do anything. Like, it's got the same benefits as a Winston bubble, but in Overwatch, how much health does a Winston bubble have? It's like 800, 900? Like, that's a lot. It's kind of hard to break a Winston bubble. So, I don't know. I feel like this thing maybe needs a bit more health to be a bit more prominent. But yeah, I do think this is probably the worst version of Deadpool. Speaking of his other abilities still, though, you have Deadpool in your area, where now, when you activate your E, the field taunts, deals continuous damage to nearby enemies, and, of course, disrupts vision, but you gain attack speed during it, instead of the, what was it for DPS pool? It was like damage boost? I don't remember. I've already forgotten. But yeah, when you activate the field, you get increased DPS, which, like, is good. Like, that makes his, like, during that brief period where you have the thingy up, like, that makes his, DPS actually quite shockingly good for a tank, which I guess is the benefit of him. Like, most tanks obviously excel in protecting their team and creating space for their team. Deadpool doesn't really do either of those. He doesn't really protect their team because he's relatively a small target. Like, he's, built like a DPS. Outside of his height, he's surprisingly tall, all things considered. But, like, he's not really, like, if we just quickly swap to, like, Emma Frost, for example, she has quite a skinny figure as well. But the benefit of her is that she has her shield and 600 health and the ability to punish characters who want to dive her team. Or someone like Thor is a good example. He is, well, I guess when he loads, he's quite big, quite beefy. He has ways to get in and out and disrupt the enemy's front line. He can survive in the enemy's front line. Or if you want a more traditional tank, you have like Magneto, who is also quite bigly built, has 650 health, has the shields and the barriers that he can place on people. Deadpool just doesn't. He has his bubble, I guess, which is fine, but he just, I don't know, it feels like he's lacking something to work as a tank. Like, the 500 health is quite notable. Like, he has quite small health pool. I don't remember, does anyone else kind of have that lower health bar? Angela's got 550, but she's a flying character who's very disruptive to the enemy team. How about Rogue? What's Rogue's health bar? She's 675. Hulk is like 700. What about Cap? Also 675. Yeah, he's got the lowest health pool of any tank. And he doesn't really have ways to make space. And he just, I don't know, something about tank pool just feels like something's missing. But either way, still continuing with talk of his abilities, his field, when upgraded, grants you damage reduction, as well as other allies in the field get damage reduction. And it gets the same effect where if the enemies don't escape in time, they get the thingy on the bottom of their screen, which is fine. And his ultimates, for the most part, are relatively similar. When you use the ban hammer, which is the targeting one, you gain bonus health and healing over time. And during the effect, they will suffer continuous damage. And if they miss an ability, they will suffer the extra damage and grant Deadpool even more bonus health, which just makes you, really hard to kill and still achieves the same effect of disrupting that specific singular target. Upon upgrade, you get even more health. I don't know if it's just me, but the descriptions look like the exact same. I guess it's just like a increase in what you, like the amount you gain, I suppose. Yeah, because the description for the upgraded version is the exact same. So I suppose it would just be an increase in the bonus health you receive and the healing over time you receive, as well as the bonus health you get when they miss a shot. And the other ultimate, of course, is the big test. When using it, you gain a minor speed boost and healing over time, and you also recharge your hazardous hijinks vanguard attempts, so your sword dashes. And you also grant bonus health to nearby allies as well as yourself. If you hit enough enemies with the indicated abilities in the time frame, you get increased speed, you get increased healing, and you refresh your healing factor cooldown. And upon upgrade, you make it so that you obviously get the same speed boost, healing boost. You apply the bonus health to allies, and if you hit enough abilities in the time frame, you refresh healing factors cooldown, you grant increased speed and healing for yourself, and for some time after, dealing any damage grants bonus health to yourself and nearby allies. And to show what you actually have to do to get the upgrade, you have to either land your dashes, which is why the dashes refresh, by the way, and you also have to land your double jumps. You cannot land your bubble, obviously, to gain any sort of benefit. So yeah, you're kind of like limited in the tools that you can use to level up the thing, but it's quite good. Like, I will admit, when you have the pop quiz up, especially the big test, when you have the big test up as well as its upgraded version, you are basically immortal. Like, during your ult, like, you are fundamentally immortal, and so is the rest of your team. Like, look how much extra bonus health you get. You get 800 to begin with, and then you upgrade it, and you just become really hard to kill. Like, is a benefit I will give tank pool is that during the big test, you are invincible. Like, during your ult, you are invincible, and so is the rest of your team. So he can make really good plays with his ult, but otherwise I just feel like tank pool's lacking something, whether it be survivability. Like, I've found tank pool very squishy. Like, you die really easily as tank pool, even with, you know, the extra health and the bubble shield. Like, I don't know, something about him just doesn't really, like, click with me as much as the other roles do. But hey, that's just my opinion. And yes, I did just take another sip of my drink. That's just my opinion. I'm sure some of you may agree, disagree, and I would like to know if you do think so, or think that tank pool is better than I'm giving him credit for. But anyways, let's move on to my favorite, and in my opinion, the strongest version of Deadpool, that being heal pool. Now, to begin with, our main two weapons are now adjusted for the fact that you are now a strategist. You are now able to shoot forward to deal damage to enemies as well as heal your allies. So these bots over here can now be healed by me shooting at them. The amount of healing is relatively okay. It's nothing like super duper insane, but you know, it's pretty good. You can't crit the heal, I don't think. Like, you can, like, obviously you can still like crit your enemies, but I don't think you can like crit heal. I think. No, you can't crit heal. And on the other hand, your katanas are now adjusted to heal enemies. No, heal enemies. Yeah, that great idea. Heal nearby allies on hit. If any of you have played Overwatch, this is basically Brigitte, or Brigitte. Yeah, Brigitte. Where if you hit them, you'll shoot out like a healing field, and any allies nearby will receive healing from that field. The healing you do with your katana is kind of negligible. It doesn't really feel like it's that much. It's kind of just used as like a emergency tool. Say like people are diving you, and you can kind of just use it to heal yourself. Like if I just get shot a little bit, like the amount of healing it doesn't actually apply to you. It's like Brig, it doesn't actually apply to you. But the healing is okay. With the katanas, the healing is okay. Most of your healing is probably just going to come from, you know, your gunshots. And, of course, on that same note, the upgraded versions of your two main weapons are different. Now the little emoji explosion thing that gets shot forward is able to heal allies as well. And with your katanas, your double jump is now a healing hop. And I believe the amount of damage you deal with your, like, the critical hits apply extra healing, I think. I'm not sure, but either way, you're now able to do what that thing is, like, you know, the critical hit stabs or whatever you want to call them. But either way, like, the upgraded version of the pistols is usually what I prioritize first, because that, like, AoE fart explosion is very strong. Because, like, he does very solid, you know, single target healing, but now you have AoE healing. So if you're just shooting mindlessly at your team, and you're just shooting that emoji every now and then, like, it's just healing to more targets. So usually I prioritize his main pistols. And on that same note, I also prioritize his pistol's right click, that being the bouncing bobblehead. Just like his DPS version, you are able to remove your avatar and throw it, and it damages enemies nearby, as well as heals your allies. And after a short time, it returns to you. Which is obviously very good, because now you can throw this ability into a field and heal your allies constantly. But if your team is like, say your team is like fighting close engagements with the enemies, you're able to throw it at your allies and damage your enemies at the same time. And generally, that's why I like Deadpool or heal pool so much, because he is basically just DPS pool. but he can heal. Like, none of his damage was nerfed for heal pool. Like, he still does the same damage as he does in DPS pool. He does obviously less because he doesn't have access to the infinite, like, sword hops. But the trade-off is you can heal your allies and deal damage at the same time. And just like his DPS form, when you upgrade the bobblehead, you're now able to throw it 3 times. So you have a big, massive spinny wheel of absurdly good healing 3 times over, on top of your, basic shots or anything else you're doing. Like, it's just like, he just does a lot of raw healing. Like, a lot, like, utility-wise, he hasn't got actually that much. It's weird, because his utility is that he is basically just a DPS that can heal. And that surprisingly is very good. Shocker, being a DPS in this game makes you quite good. So being a DPS that can heal makes you, very solid. Like, I don't know, he just feels really potent. Like, even just with these 2 abilities upgraded, I argue that he's like, like top 3 supports. Like, he's really good at this. It's almost surprising. And on the other hand, of course, with your swords, when you do the dashes, now you're able to heal your allies with the dash. And when you upgrade them, as I also mentioned, you don't get the infinite bunny hops, but now you're able to do, the free bounces off of people, which is, useful for close quarters engagements when, say their team has got like a few brawlers or divers. It makes you quite good in the midst of the fight, just kind of like swinging your swords around and just healing your allies around you while still doing very, like, acceptable. Like, this is good damage, especially for support. Like, it's silly. And remember, you can always take a picture to go invincible. Just don't do it as heal pool, because that time it takes to heal or to do the picture, yeah, your team will probably die all around you. Now, another thing, the double jump, which I have obviously shown a lot, where you can like bounce off of enemies and the such. The heal pool variant can actually bounce off of his allies to heal them. Meaning you can bounce off of, multiple allies and just give them a little small healing boost, I suppose, which you could, like use whilst, fighting, which is kind of silly. It's silly, but it works. And finally, on his basic ability side, we have his in your area ability, where he taunts, deals continuous damage to nearby enemies, and disrupts their vision, whilst also healing allies in range. And on upgrade, it makes it so that when allies are in that field, they are provided a damage boost, which is very, very, quite rare. The only other support I can think of that gives a damage boost is Ultron, I think. Oh, and Ultron and Mantis, and I guess Rocket when he's using his ultimate. Like, those 3 are like the only ones who provide damage boost, so it's relatively rare and quite strong. And to show what it looks like, of course, you create a green field around you that heals allies, and, it's good healing, by the way. Like, this is good healing, especially on top of the fact that, you will be actively shooting or doing things whilst existing. Like, it's like everything DPS pool does well, heal pool does just as well, but he can heal on top of it. This is, in my mind, it's just a struggle to see why you would play anything besides heal pool, really, like in my mind at least. And to finish off this very, very extensive kit breakdown, we have his 2 support versions of his ultimate, that being Ponage Pound, where you select an enemy to taunt, and if they miss an ability during the effect, they suffer extra damage, and nearby allies to you gain healing over time. And whenever an enemy takes damage from this ability, Deadpool and his allies within range of that healing over time will gain additional healing. So basically it makes your entire team invulnerable when you use it, right? And of course it can be upgraded and makes it so they, the healing effects are stronger, right? And you also have his final exam, where you initiate the challenge on yourself and gain healing over time for you and nearby allies. And if you hit enough enemies in the indicated abilities in time, you get greatly enhanced healing. And the upgraded version makes it so you obviously get the healing over time and it's further enhanced, but when you manage to do enough hits with the abilities, your team gains bonus health and you refresh the cooldown of your healing factor. And if you're curious, the requirements to level up are using your dash, either 7, you have to do this 7 times, right? You have to use your dash, your spinny wheel of doom, and if you manage to, of course, do it, everything around you will get bonus health, the extra healing. Very strong. Very, very, very strong. I would argue using the final exam as the healer one is the best way to go, because it's quite easy to achieve it, because you can just kind of like throw your thingy at them, and yeah, look how quickly I got that. All it takes is just throwing the thing at the team, and I've already got it, and now everyone around me is just like, I know it's another big healing circle, but it's a fun big healing circle, because you get to do things and shoot people and kill people. It's a win. Whew. Now, I think we're done. There is a team up with Jeff, but that's for Jeff to talk about, or for me to talk about when I get to Jeff. Yeah, this is the most complex character they've ever released. Even if it weren't for the fact he plays 3 different roles, he would still probably be one of the more complex characters ever released. Like, if he just had the upgrade feature, he'd already be complex enough, right? But he plays all 3 roles, so he's even more complex, and he's even more of a headache. I just spent the last 3 days trying to figure out how this damn character works. Like, in my opinion, I do think Tank Paul is the weakest version. Not to say he's bad, I just think he's the weakest of the 3. DPS Paul is very strong and very disruptive and very annoying. He is also surprisingly a very good counter to healers, because he can just keep bouncing on you even when you're in the air. As long as he keeps hitting the bounces, you're going to keep taking damage and you're probably going to die. And it's also very annoying if he's disrupting you. But in my opinion, Heal Paul is the strongest version, because he has a lot of the same strengths as Heal Paul or DPS Paul, but he can heal. So it's like, why would you not play him? In my experience, and this is the one I've played the most, at least, obviously, I'll show you when we get to talking about cosmetics and stuff. But yeah, he's the one I've played the most in my experience, and I think he's the strongest. And in my opinion, he's the most fun to play, because he's a bit different from the rest of the roster here. Like, he wasn't designed to be a support. He was designed to be a DPS that just so happens to heal people, and that turns into very fun gameplay. Whoa, mind-blowing. But yeah, I think we're done. I think this is everything for Deadpool covered. Please do let me know what you think of Deadpool, specifically on a gameplay front, because I'm very curious to know what all of you think, right? But with all of that said, let's now move on to talking about his design and his cosmetics. Now quickly, before we start talking about his design, just to prove what I just said a second ago, Heal Paul is my most played one. Not by much, but I do have a lot of playtime on my Xbox as well, so trust me, the disparity between the 3 roles is way larger than it looks here. I think I have like almost 3 hours on Heal Paul already, and probably similar minutes to this on the other 2. But anyways, let's talk about Deadpool's base design and singular cosmetics that he currently has right now. I really like his base design. It's obviously kind of hard to talk about it because it is, just Deadpool. But there's a few like little key bits of qualities that I actually enjoy a lot, and most of it has to do with his mask. Usually his mask is just, just a full, like, it's just a head mask. But this bit here on the end, like this little like tail to end to his mask, I really, really like it. It kind of makes it look like a jester's hat. And that fits Deadpool very nicely, I think. Like, he does, at times, many a times, feel like a jester, kind of putting on a show for the hardy ha's. And I like that they've kind of incorporated that into his design. Otherwise, it's about as what I would expect of Deadpool. It's, he's got pouches galore, straps galore, he's got his little knee pads on. He's got, okay, well, wouldn't usually have Jeff hanging off his ass, but like, he's got, about as much as I would expect of Deadpool. Like that, I look at this and yeah, that is Deadpool. He's got his 2 pistols, he's got his 2 katanas, he's got a Deadpool belt, and the suit looks, pretty good. I mean, I'm staring. Like, I'm staring right here, you guys. I'm staring right here, you guys. It looks good. Like, it's hard to criticize a lot of the Rivals base designs, especially if they just kind of play to the usual character traits of these characters. Like, the next video in this series is probably going to be on Rogue, and I genuinely am. I'm saying this now. I got no clue what I'm going to say about this, because that is Rogue, and that's about as much as I can say. But yeah, this is the coolest thing about his design. The little jester hat thing on the end of his mask. And I need to compliment his animation work as well, like, really quickly. Like, his animations are very, very charming. Especially, like, his walk cycle. like his default walk cycle is so funny to me, because every time I look at it, I can just think of the clip from Family Guy where he's like, a loaf of bread, a container of butter, and a stick of milk. Like, it's stupid, but I find him very charming. His animations are really, really charming, really lovely. He does have a base recolor, which is the X-Force one, which I believe is, well, based off of the name in question. It's just a white and black recolor, which I think looks quite cool. I think this was in Fortnite when they added Deadpool. I hadn't really seen it up until then. The red eyes are a cool touch, but otherwise it's a pretty standard recolor. I think it looks cool. I saw a lot of people happy with it, and yeah, I'm glad. And I'm sure, as some of you have noticed by now, I do in fact own Captain Paul. I have enjoyed playing this character so much that I have decided to buy his day one skin, which is, I want to say a rarity. I did buy Daredevils as well. I did buy Daredevils. But I haven't really bought many of the day one skins besides that. I bought Emma Frost's way after she released, but yeah, it's kind of a rarity. But I like Captain Paul quite a lot, actually. This is a literal, there's no other word for it, a clusterfuck of a design. Like, there's so much shit going on. Like, he's got a robot head with a weird robot eye patch. He's got a voice filter, which is, you know, quite rare for epic rarity skins. He's got a cool glitchy effect on his eye. He's got a big, massive pirate captain's hat with the feather and shit. His pistols are, you know, designed to look like blunderbusses, but with like a bayonet on the end. He's got unicorns on him for some reason. Like, he's got a unicorn on his belt. He's got a unicorn on his shoulder. He's got like weird tassel furry shoulder plates. And he's got furry boots as well. Like, his chest is out, showing the cancer marks and stuff. Like, there is so much going on here. Like, even his katanas are like over the top. Like, they got that weird glowy effect to them, and when they upgrade, they have like a rainbow blade and shit. Like, there's so much going on here, and I love it. It's actually just a cluster of different shit, and I think it looks great. I think it surprisingly works. Fits him quite nicely as well. Yeah, on the cosmetics front and design front, I think he's absolutely perfect. He does have a very charming MVP, at least for this one as well, where his ass gets stuck in a cannon and he gets launched out of it. I think that's a bit of a giggle. And his base MVP is also really funny, with the fourth wall break of him, you know, like breaking the screen. And I think this pose is really cool as well, with his legs stuck up in the air like this. Like, his very goofy looking shapes language, which I like a lot. And I feel like it's worth mentioning this because it is technically cosmetics. On the proficiency front, he does have a very neat, ignore the fact I am level 9. I'm not, trust me guys. He has a very neat kill effect, which I think is quite cool, with all the yellow love hearts and stuff, which is quite neat. His Lord icon is a bit interesting. I think it's neat. It comes from this shot in his default MVP, the thing that he throws at the screen. Yeah, this. Like, I think it's neat, but I don't know. I actually kind of wish it was the final shot of his basic MVP. Like, it was the shot with him kind of weirdly curved with his leg up. Like, this shot. I think this would have been cool for his MVP thing. Like, I think this would have worked. But, hey, it looks pretty fine. And beyond that, he, of course, has an animated one where the little Deadpool chud-looking thing giggles and stuff, which I think is neat. And still speaking of his icons, and I guess this kind of counts as cosmetics or whatever, I do think they should probably make it so his icons are different to differentiate the versions of him. I think the one with him holding his hand up in the love heart should probably be his support one. This one could be his tank one, considering, you know, he throws out the little, unicorn plush. And I did see someone say that his third one should be the final shot of this MVP screen, which I know goes against what I just said about his Lord icon, but still, I think there should be an easier way to differentiate what Deadpool you're against in-game, at least from icons, for your team especially. Because there's times where I'll pick like heal pool, and people just kind of presume I've gone DPS pool, and now we're running triple support, and I feel awful. I feel guilty. I feel guilty for playing triple support. But anyways, with all of that said, done, dusted, etc, etc, this is probably going to be the longest video in the whole series. I doubt a character is going to have this much complexity from this point forward. But yeah, we're done with the Deadpool video. I hope you've enjoyed it up until this point. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And if you have enjoyed it, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, whether it be a good morning, afternoon, evening, etc. And as per my previous video, before, Deadpool came out and stuff, I spun the wheel, which I spin at the end of every video, and the character we landed on was Rogue, so I will still keep with that, and the next video in this series shall be on none other than Rogue.